They say trust is the foundation of any marriage, but what happens when that foundation crumbles? What happens when the person you've built your entire life with becomes a stranger overnight? This is the story of how I discovered my wife's infidelity, and how one moment of curiosity led to the unraveling of everything I thought I knew about my life. My name is David Patterson, and for 12 years I believed I had it all. A beautiful wife, Emily, who I met during our junior year at Boston University. Two amazing kids, Brandon, age 9, and Olivia, age 6. A comfortable home in suburban Massachusetts with a white picket fence and a golden retriever named Max. I worked as a senior project manager at a software development firm, pulling in a solid 6-figure salary that allowed Emily to stay home with the kids, which was what we'd both wanted. Our life looked perfect from the outside. Weekend barbecues with neighbors, family vacations to Cape Cod every summer, date nights twice a month at our favorite Italian restaurant. We had our routines, our inside jokes, our shared history. I thought we were happy. I thought we were solid. I thought wrong. The thing about betrayal is that it doesn't announce itself with fanfare. There's no warning siren, no flashing red lights. It creeps in quietly, disguised as normalcy, hiding in plain sight while you go about your daily life completely oblivious. And when you finally see it, really see it, the shock doesn't just hurt, it fundamentally changes who you are. This isn't a story about how I saved my marriage. This isn't a tale of forgiveness and redemption. This is the raw, unfiltered account of how my wife's choices destroyed our family, and how I fought back to protect myself and my children. It's about the legal battles, the emotional warfare, and the hard truths about what happens when the person who promised to love you forever decides that promise doesn't mean anything anymore. Some people might judge the decisions I made. Some might say I went too far. But until you've walked in my shoes, until you felt the gut-wrenching pain of discovering that your entire life has been a lie, you don't get to have an opinion. This is my story, and I'm telling it exactly as it happened. The first crack in my perfect life appeared on a Tuesday in late September. Nothing about that day seemed particularly significant. I'd gotten up at 6:30, showered, dressed in my usual business casual attire, and headed downstairs to find Emily already in the kitchen making breakfast for the kids. "Morning," she said, flashing me that smile I'd fallen in love with 13 years ago. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a ponytail, and she wore yoga pants and one of my old college sweatshirts. "Morning, beautiful," I replied, kissing her cheek before pouring myself coffee. This was our routine. This was normal. Brandon rushed in, backpack bouncing on his shoulders, already talking about the science project due next week. Olivia followed, dragging her stuffed bunny and complaining that she couldn't find her favorite shoes. It was chaos, the good kind, the kind that makes you feel alive and needed. I left for work at 7:45, sitting in my usual traffic on Route 128, listening to a podcast about emerging technologies. My calendar showed back-to-back meetings until 3, followed by a project review that would probably run late. Just another day. The meetings dragged on as expected. Budget discussions, timeline adjustments, client concerns about feature implementations. My mind wandered occasionally to weekend plans. Brandon had a soccer game on Saturday, and we'd promised Olivia we'd take her to the Children's Museum on Sunday. Around 2:30, my phone buzzed with a text from Emily. "Can you grab milk on the way home? We're out." "Sure thing," I replied, adding a heart emoji. Such a mundane exchange, so perfectly ordinary. I had no idea that in less than 3 hours my entire world would implode. The project review actually wrapped up early, around 4:15. I decided to surprise everyone by coming home early, maybe pick up pizza for dinner instead of the chicken Emily had planned. I stopped at the grocery store, grabbed the milk, and on impulse, picked up a bouquet of sunflowers, Emily's favorite. I pulled into our driveway at 5:10, earlier than I'd been home on a weekday in months. Emily's SUV was there, along with a silver Honda Accord I didn't recognize parked on the street just in front of our house. Probably someone visiting the Johnsons next door, I thought. The house was quiet when I walked in. No TV sounds, no kids arguing, no music playing from the kitchen. Max didn't even come running to greet me, which was unusual. Kids? I called out, setting the milk on the kitchen counter and laying the flowers beside it. Silence. Then I heard it. A sound that didn't belong. A low murmur of voices coming from upstairs. Adult voices. One was definitely Emily's. The other was male, deep, unfamiliar. My stomach tightened. Something felt wrong. I checked my watch. 5:12. The kids should be home from school. Emily should be starting dinner. Instead, the house felt empty, hollow, wrong. I moved toward the stairs, my footsteps quiet on the hardwood floor. The voices grew clearer as I climbed. They were coming from our bedroom. Our bedroom. The door was closed. My hand reached for the doorknob and some instinct made me pause. Some part of my brain was screaming at me to turn around, to call out, to make noise, to give whoever was in there a chance to… What? Explain? Hide? But I didn't listen to that instinct. Instead, I turned the knob slowly, quietly, and pushed the door open. What I saw in that moment would be burned into my memory forever. I stood there in the doorway, frozen. The sunflowers in my hand suddenly felt like props in someone else's play. Emily was on our bed. Our bed. The one we'd picked out together at Jordan's Furniture 3 years ago. The one where we'd read bedtime stories to Brandon and Olivia on Sunday mornings. She was with a man I'd never seen before. Dark hair, maybe mid-30s, wearing a wrinkled button-down shirt that hung open. They hadn't noticed me yet. The bedroom faced the backyard, away from the driveway, and I'd come up the stairs quietly in my sneakers. I had maybe 3 seconds before one of them would turn their head and see me standing there. I could have announced myself, could have shouted, thrown something, made a scene worthy of the betrayal I was witnessing. But something in me went cold and calculating instead. The project manager part of my brain, the part that had spent 12 years breaking down complex problems into manageable data points, took over. I backed away from the door. Slowly, carefully. My hand found the stair railing, and I descended the same way I'd come up, placing each foot with deliberate precision. The sunflowers went into the trash can under the kitchen sink. The milk went into the refrigerator. My hands moved on autopilot while my mind raced. The silver Honda Accord. I pulled out my phone and photographed the license plate through the front window, then took several shots of the car itself from different angles. Massachusetts registration. I noted the time. 5:14 p.m. I left through the front door, closing it with the same gentle click as always, and sat in my Subaru at the end of the driveway. My heart was hammering, but my hands were steady. I opened the voice memo app on my phone and started recording everything I could remember. The timeline, the car, the physical descriptions. The fact that our children weren't home on a Tuesday afternoon when Emily usually picked up Olivia from school at 3:30. Where were Brandon and Olivia? I texted Emily. Running late at work. We'll be home around 7. Need me to grab anything else? The response came 4 minutes later. No, we're good. See you tonight. We're good. The casual lie of it made my stomach turn. I drove to the Starbucks on Main Street and ordered a black coffee I didn't want. Found a corner table, opened my laptop. The project manager in me knew that emotion was the enemy of effective action. I needed information before I needed confrontation. The license plate search took me to a paid database I'd used once before when buying a used car. $29 for a vehicle history report. I entered the plate number from the Honda Accord. Registered owner, Kyle Brennan, age 34, address in Medford, Massachusetts. I typed the name into Google. LinkedIn profile, third result. Kyle Brennan, educational consultant and accreditation specialist. The profile photo matched the man I'd seen in my bedroom. His summary described him as helping non-traditional students achieve their academic goals through innovative credentialing solutions. Innovative credentialing solutions. The phrase sat wrong, too vague and buzzword-heavy. I clicked through to his employment history. Current position: Director of Academic Services at Commonwealth University of Advanced Studies. I'd never heard of it. The university's website looked professional enough at first glance. Stock photos of diverse students in graduation caps, testimonials about flexible learning, promises of accelerated degree programs, and life experience credit. But there was something off about it. The faculty page listed professors with impressive credentials, but reverse image searches on their photos pulled up stock photography sites. The physical address was listed as a P.O. box in Cambridge. No campus photos, no accreditation details from any organization I recognized. My coffee had gone cold. I checked the time, 6:47 p.m. Then I remembered something Emily had mentioned about 3 months ago, casually, while loading the dishwasher after dinner. She was thinking about going back to school, getting her doctorate in education. She'd found an online program that was perfect for her schedule, something she could do from home while the kids were at school. I'd been supportive, encouraging even. Told her I thought it was a great idea, that she'd always been brilliant, that she should absolutely pursue it. She'd seemed excited in a way I hadn't seen in years. Started spending more time on her laptop, mentioned assignments and discussion boards, talked about her advisor, Dr. Brennan, who was so helpful and really understood her goals. Dr. Brennan. Kyle Brennan. I pulled up our credit card statements on my banking app. Started scrolling back through 3 months of charges. There, August 15th. Commonwealth University of Advanced Studies, $8,500. I'd seen it at the time, remembered Emily mentioning it was her first semester's tuition. I'd paid it without question because I wanted to support her dreams. I felt sick. But I kept digging. Because that's what you do when your foundation cracks. You assess the damage before you decide whether to repair or demolish. I searched for Commonwealth University of Advanced Studies, combined with terms like accreditation, legitimate, scam. The results were sparse, but what I found was damning. A forum post from 2 months ago, someone asking if anyone had heard of the school. Responses ranged from skeptical to outright accusatory. One commenter called it a diploma mill. Another said they'd looked into it for their master's degree but couldn't find any legitimate accreditation. Diploma mill. The term rattled around in my head. I knew what that meant. Fake degrees sold to people who wanted credentials without doing the work. But Emily wasn't stupid. She'd gone to Boston University, a legitimate school. We'd met in an upper-level economics seminar. She'd graduated with honors, unless she wasn't a student at all. The thought arrived fully formed, terrible and obvious. What if she wasn't earning a degree? What if she was part of the operation itself? I opened a new browser tab and searched for Kyle Brennan Diploma Mill. Nothing. Tried Kyle Brennan Education Fraud. Still nothing recent. The man had kept himself clean, at least publicly. My phone buzzed. Emily. Hey babe, kids want to know if you can bring home ice cream? We're having sundaes after dinner. The normalcy of it was obscene. I stared at the message, at the ice cream emoji, at the casual endearment that now felt like sandpaper against my skin. I typed back, "Sure, Rocky Road okay? Perfect, love you." I didn't respond to that. It was 7:23 p.m. The Honda Accord would be gone by now. Emily would have the house back in order, evidence erased, lies prepared. She'd greet me at the door with a smile, ask about my day, serve dinner like nothing had happened. And I would have to sit across from her and pretend I didn't know. Pretend I hadn't seen. Pretend my entire life wasn't built on something rotten. But I needed more information. I needed to understand the full scope of what I was dealing with before I made my move. I searched the Massachusetts Secretary of State's Business Registry for Commonwealth University of Advanced Studies. Found it registered as an LLC, filed 6 months ago. 2 members listed, Kyle Brennan and Emily Patterson. Emily Patterson. My wife wasn't having an affair with someone running a diploma mill. She was running it with him. The distinction mattered. This wasn't just betrayal of our marriage vows. This was criminal fraud. Federal fraud, probably, if they were selling degrees across state lines. And Emily, my Emily, who'd once spent 20 minutes at Target agonizing over whether it was ethical to use an expired coupon, was in it up to her neck. I closed my laptop, bought the Rocky Road ice cream from the Shaws next door, drove home with my hands at 10 and 2, my speed exactly at the limit, everything controlled and normal. The Honda Accord was gone when I pulled into the driveway at 7:52 p.m. The thing about pretending everything is normal when your entire world has just shattered is that it requires a level of performance you never knew you possessed. I pulled into the driveway at 5:47 p.m., exactly when I would have arrived if I'd left the office at my usual time. The ice cream was melting slightly in the passenger seat, condensation forming on the paper bag from Shaw's. 2 pints of mint chocolate chip, Brandon's favorite. 1 pint of strawberry for Olivia. Rocky Road for Emily and me to share while we watched whatever show she'd queued up on Netflix. The white picket fence looked the same. The golden retriever sprawled on the front porch looked the same. The SUV in the driveway looked the same. Everything looked exactly as it had this morning when I'd kissed Emily goodbye and told her I'd probably be home late. I sat in my car for 30 seconds, breathing, counting. My hands were steady on the steering wheel. That surprised me. I'd expected trembling, maybe nausea, definitely rage. Instead, I felt cold, calculating. The same mental state I entered when a project was failing and I needed to assess the damage before stakeholders started asking questions. The front door opened before I reached it. Emily stood there in fresh clothes, jeans and a cream-colored sweater I'd bought her for Christmas last year. Her hair was down now, still damp at the ends. She'd showered. Of course she had. "You're home early," she said, smiling. "I thought you said 7 at the earliest." Wrapped up sooner than expected. I held up the bag, picked up ice cream. Her face lit up. That same genuine smile that had made me fall in love with her 13 years ago in the campus library at Boston University. "You're the best. The kids are going to lose their minds." "Where are they?" I asked, keeping my voice casual as I stepped past her into the house. "Still at your mom's. I texted you around 3. Did you not get it?" I pulled out my phone, and there it was. A message I'd somehow missed in my focused investigation. "Kids wanted to stay for dinner at your mom's. She's making lasagna. Said she'd drop them off around 7:30. That okay?" "Must have been in a meeting," I said. "Yeah, that's fine." So that explained their absence. My mother lived 20 minutes away in Brookline and took the kids every Tuesday afternoon. Usually Emily picked them up around 5, but apparently not today. Today she'd needed them gone longer. I wondered if Kyle Brennan was still in our bedroom when she'd sent that text. Or maybe he'd already left, and she'd been in the shower, washing away the evidence. "How was your day?" I asked, setting the ice cream on the kitchen counter. Emily moved to the refrigerator, casual and comfortable. "Good. Productive, actually. Had a video conference with my advisor this morning about my dissertation progress." The lie came so easily. No hesitation, no tell, just smooth, practiced deception. "Dr. Brennan, right?" I said, opening the freezer to put away the ice cream. "Mm-hmm. He thinks I'm on track to defend by next spring if I keep up the pace." I closed the freezer door carefully, turned to face her. She was pulling ingredients from the refrigerator for dinner. Chicken breasts, vegetables, a bottle of white wine. Planning our evening meal like she hadn't spent her afternoon in bed with her business partner. That's great, I said. Must be nice having an advisor who's so involved. If she caught the edge in my voice, she didn't show it. He's been really supportive. I'm lucky to have him. The word choice almost made me laugh. Lucky. Yes, she'd certainly gotten lucky today. I've been thinking, I said, leaning against the counter, about your program. Emily glanced up from the cutting board where she'd started slicing bell peppers. Yeah? I don't know much about Commonwealth University. Where's it based again? It's fully online, she said. The administrative offices are in Boston, but all the coursework is virtual. That's what makes it perfect for people like me who can't relocate for a traditional program. Right, makes sense. I paused. Do they do any in-person events, like graduation ceremonies? Her knife stilled for just a fraction of a second. I think so. Why? Just curious. Seems like after all that work, you'd want to walk across the stage, get the diploma in person, make it feel real, you know? I haven't really thought that far ahead, Emily said, resuming her chopping. That's still months away. True. I pulled out my phone, making a show of scrolling through something. Hey, this is random, but do you think Commonwealth offers other degrees? Like if someone wanted to get a master's in business or something? Now she was paying attention. I could feel her focus sharpen, even though she kept her eyes on the vegetables. Probably, she said carefully. Most universities offer multiple programs. Why? Guy at work was asking about online programs. I mentioned yours and he seemed interested. Thought maybe I could pass along some information. The lie came easily to me too. Apparently, we'd both developed that skill. I can send you some links, Emily offered. What field is he looking at? Business administration, maybe an MBA. She nodded, scraping the peppers into a bowl. I'll email you the admissions contact information tonight. Perfect. I pocketed my phone. I'm going to change. Be down in a few. I took the stairs slowly, listening to Emily move around the kitchen below. The bedroom door was open now, the bed made with fresh sheets. The room smelled like lavender, her favorite room spray. She'd been thorough. In my closet, I changed into jeans and a t-shirt, my mind already 3 steps ahead. The admissions contact information she'd send me would be real. It would lead to a website, probably professionally designed. There would be course catalogs and faculty listings and all the trappings of a legitimate institution. But it was all fabrication. An elaborate stage set with Emily and Kyle as the directors. I needed to know the scope. How many people had they sold degrees to? What were they charging? Were they operating across state lines, which would make it federal fraud? And most importantly, how deep was Emily's involvement? The business registration listed her as a member of the LLC. That made her a co-owner, not just Kyle's accomplice. This wasn't a case of a naive wife being manipulated by a con artist. Emily had put her name on legal documents. She'd helped build this operation. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Kids are having a blast. Olivia helped make garlic bread. We'll be there by 7:30. I typed back, Thanks, Mom. See you then. 90 minutes until my children came home. 90 minutes to maintain this performance of normalcy while my wife cooked dinner and chatted about her fictional dissertation. Downstairs, I found Emily pouring 2 glasses of wine. She handed me one, her fingers brushing mine. Long day? Not too bad, I said. Yours? Quiet. Got a lot of reading done for my research. We stood there in our kitchen drinking wine, lying to each other. She had no idea I knew. No idea I'd seen her business registration, her partnership with Kyle Brennan, the whole fraudulent enterprise she'd built while I paid her tuition and supported our family. I was thinking, I said, swirling the wine in my glass. Maybe I should look into getting another degree myself. Could help with the career trajectory. Emily's expression remained pleasant, interested. Really? What were you thinking? Not sure yet. Maybe a master's in computer science. Or business management. I took a sip. How much did your program cost again? I know we paid in August, but I don't remember the exact amount. $8,500 for the full doctorate, she said without hesitation. But master's programs are usually less, probably around $5,000 or $6,000. $5,000 or $6,000 for a worthless piece of paper. I wondered how many people had paid that price. How many fake doctors and fake MBAs were out there? Credentials purchased from a basement operation run by my wife and her lover. That's not bad, I said. Comparable to other online programs? Very competitive, Emily assured me. Commonwealth really tries to make advanced education accessible. Accessible. What a word choice. They were making fraud accessible, making it easy for people to lie about their qualifications, to falsify their credentials, to cheat their way into positions they hadn't earned. And my wife, the woman I'd trusted with my children, my home, my life, was profiting from it. The oven timer beeped. Emily moved to check the chicken, and I watched her bend down, pulling out the roasting pan with practiced ease. She looked so normal, so familiar. The same woman who'd packed Brandon's lunch this morning and reminded me to pick up Olivia's prescription. Dinner's almost ready, she said. Want to set the table? Sure. I pulled plates from the cabinet, set out silverware, folded napkins. All the mundane rituals of domestic life performed on autopilot while my brain cataloged everything I'd learned today and everything I still needed to discover. By the time my mother's car pulled into the driveway at 7:28 p.m., I had a plan forming. Not complete yet, but taking shape. I needed more information. I needed documentation. I needed to understand exactly what Emily and Kyle had built before I could tear it down. But first, I needed to hug my children and pretend their world wasn't about to implode. They say the hardest acting role you'll ever play is pretending your life isn't falling apart while your children ask what's for dinner. No script, no rehearsal, just pure survival instinct kicking in while you smile and ask about their day at Grandma's house. Brandon came through the door first, backpack bouncing against his shoulders, already talking about the Lego set Grandma had let him build. Olivia trailed behind, clutching her stuffed bunny and announcing that she'd had 3 cookies and Grandma said that was okay because she was special. Emily's mother, Carol, stood in the doorway with that apologetic smile mothers-in-law perfect over the years, the one that says, "I spoiled them, deal with it." "Thanks for watching them, Carol," I said, and my voice sounded normal. Completely normal. That surprised me. "Oh, anytime. You know I love having them." She glanced past me into the house, probably looking for Emily. "Is Em around? I wanted to ask her about Thanksgiving." "She's upstairs," Emily called from the landing, descending with that same freshly showered look, wearing different clothes now. Black leggings, oversized sweater, hair still damp. "Hey, Mom. Come in for a minute?" I watched them disappear into the kitchen while Brandon showed me pictures on Carol's phone of his Lego creation. Some kind of spaceship with unnecessary wings, and what he insisted was a hyperdrive engine. Olivia had already found the ice cream in the freezer and was pointing at it with the kind of determination only a 6-year-old can muster. "After dinner," I told her, "your mom's making chicken." The lie came easily. Everything came easily now that I'd crossed that threshold. I'd become a liar too, just by proximity, just by necessity. Carol left 15 minutes later, and Emily started pulling chicken breasts from the refrigerator like this was any other Tuesday evening. Like she hadn't been in our bed with Kyle Brennan 4 hours ago. Like she wasn't running a federal fraud operation from some basement somewhere in Massachusetts. I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop, ostensibly checking work emails, but actually digging deeper into Commonwealth University of Advanced Studies. The website was professionally designed. That was the first thing that struck me. This wasn't some obvious scam with broken English and pixelated logos. Someone had invested real money into making this look legitimate. The faculty page listed 12 professors, each with impressive credentials from actual universities. Dr. Kyle Brennan, Director of Academic Services, held a PhD in Educational Leadership from Northeastern University, or so the website claimed. I made a note to verify that. Dr. Emily Patterson was listed as Associate Director of Curriculum Development, with a doctorate in Educational Psychology from Boston University. My Emily had a master's degree in elementary education. She'd never pursued a doctorate, at least not legitimately. I clicked through to the programs offered. Doctorate in Business Administration, $12,500. Doctorate in Education, $11,800. Master's degrees ranging from $6,500 to $8,900. All online, all self-paced, all promising credit for life experience and accelerated pathways for working professionals. The testimonials page made my stomach turn. Smiling faces, stock photos probably, with quotes about how Commonwealth University had changed their lives and opened doors to promotions and career advancement. Dr. Jennifer Wright, School Principal, Texas. Dr. Michael Torres, Hospital Administrator, Florida. Dr. Rebecca Allen, Corporate Training Director, California. How many of these people were real? How many had paid thousands of dollars for worthless paper? How many were using these fake credentials to make decisions that affected other people's lives? Teaching children, managing hospitals, running businesses? Daddy, can I play on your iPad? Olivia appeared at my elbow, bunny tucked under one arm. After dinner, sweetheart, go wash your hands. She skipped away, and I closed the laptop before Emily could glance over and see what I was researching. She was seasoning the chicken now, humming something under her breath. A song I didn't recognize. My phone buzzed. A text from Jeremy, my colleague at work. Everything okay? You left pretty quick. I typed back, family thing, all good. Another lie. They were stacking up now, building a wall between my real life and this performance I was giving. But what choice did I have? Confront Emily now, with the kids home, with dinner on the stove? Watch her deny everything, or worse, confess and force me to make decisions I wasn't ready to make? No. I needed more information. I needed to understand the full scope of this before I acted. Dinner was chicken with roasted vegetables and rice. Emily had made Brandon's favorite. She'd cut his chicken into strips the way he liked, even though he was 9 and perfectly capable of using a knife. Olivia pushed her broccoli around her plate and tried to negotiate eating ice cream first, then vegetables. Normal. Everything was so goddamn normal. How was your day? Emily asked me, passing the salt. Meetings, conference calls, the usual. I met her eyes across the table. Blue eyes. The same ones I'd looked into 13 years ago at that Boston University party. The same ones that had looked up at me when I proposed on Cape Cod. The same ones that had filled with tears when Brandon was born, when Olivia took her first steps. How's the dissertation coming? I asked. She didn't even flinch. Good. Really good, actually. I had a video conference with Dr. Brennan this afternoon. He thinks I'm on track to defend by spring. That's great. I took a bite of chicken. It tasted like nothing. What's your timeline looking like? Well, I need to finish the literature review by November, then start the methodology section. Dr. Brennan wants me to collect data in January, analyze in February, write up results in March. Defense probably April or May. She had the whole story ready. Dates, details, academic jargon. How long had she been rehearsing this? How many times had she practiced these lies? And then what? I asked. After you have your doctorate? Emily smiled, reaching over to wipe sauce from Olivia's chin. I don't know. Maybe teach at the community college level? or do curriculum consulting. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Like we were partners. Like we were building something together instead of her systematically destroying everything we'd built. After dinner, I did the dishes while Emily supervised bath time. Brandon's voice echoed down the stairs, arguing about whether he needed to wash his hair. Olivia was singing something about rubber duckies. The sounds of my family, my life, my children who had no idea their mother was a criminal. I dried my hands and opened my laptop again. The LLC registration for Commonwealth University of Advanced Studies had been filed 18 months ago. 18 months of this operation running, 18 months of Emily lying to me. The registered agent was Kyle Brennan, with an address in Malden, a working-class city north of Boston, not the kind of place you'd expect to find a university, even a fake one. I pulled up Google Maps and entered the address. Street View showed a modest two-family house, vinyl siding, small front yard. Definitely not a university campus. Definitely not even an office building. This had to be where Kyle lived, where he ran the operation from his basement, just like the cliché promised. I could drive there, right now. Confront him, threaten him, demand answers. But that would tip my hand. Emily would know I knew, and whatever evidence existed might disappear. People might get warned. The operation might shut down before I could document everything. No, I needed to be smarter than that. The idea came to me slowly, then all at once. If Commonwealth University was selling degrees, they'd sell one to me. I could apply using a fake name, a fake email. I could see exactly how the process worked, what they promised, what they delivered. I could gather evidence from the inside. And then, when I had everything I needed, I could show up at Kyle Brennan's basement for my graduation ceremony. The thought made me smile for the first time since 5:12 that afternoon. I opened a new browser window in incognito mode and navigated to Commonwealth University's admissions page. The application was simple. Name, email, phone number, desired degree program, educational background, professional experience. I filled it out carefully. Robert Mitchell, Gmail address I created on the spot. Google Voice number. Doctorate in Business Administration. Bachelor's degree from UMass Boston. 15 years of management experience in retail operations. Under career goals, I typed, seeking terminal degree to qualify for executive-level positions and consulting opportunities. I hit submit. The confirmation page loaded immediately. Thank you for your interest in Commonwealth University of Advanced Studies. An admissions counselor will contact you within 24-48 hours to discuss your educational goals and program options. I closed the laptop and went upstairs. Emily was reading to Olivia, both of them curled up in Olivia's twin bed under the glow-in-the-dark stars we'd stuck to the ceiling 3 years ago. The book was about a bunny who went on adventures. Olivia's eyes were already drooping. I stood in the doorway and watched my wife read to our daughter, and I wondered how someone could be two completely different people at the same time. They say the best lies are built on a foundation of truth. The best cons work because they give you exactly what you want to believe. I'd spent my entire professional career managing complex projects, identifying risks, anticipating problems before they materialized. I'd built systems to catch errors, redundancies to prevent failures. But none of that mattered when the person running the con was sleeping next to you every night. Wednesday morning arrived with the same mundane routine. Emily made pancakes. Brandon complained about his math homework. Olivia insisted on wearing her sparkly purple shoes, even though they didn't match her outfit. The coffee tasted the same. The kitchen smelled like maple syrup and butter. Max begged for scraps under the table. I kissed Emily goodbye at 7:45 a.m., same as always. Her lips were warm. She smiled and reminded me we needed milk. I told her I'd pick some up on the way home. Just another day in paradise. I made it to my car before I had to grip the steering wheel hard enough to make my knuckles white. 3 deep breaths. Then I drove to work on autopilot, my mind already 3 steps ahead. The fake application I'd submitted as Robert Mitchell had gone through at 11:47 p.m. the previous night. I'd used a burner email account, a Google Voice number, and paid the $900 tuition for a master's degree in business administration using a prepaid card I'd bought with cash. The confirmation email arrived at 6:23 a.m. Wednesday morning. Dear Mr. Mitchell, congratulations on your acceptance to Commonwealth University of Advanced Studies. Your transcript evaluation is complete, and we're pleased to inform you that your extensive professional experience qualifies you for our accelerated completion track. Your MBA degree will be ready for conferral within 2 to 3 business days. Diploma processing fee of $150 is due upon completion. We look forward to celebrating your academic achievement. Best regards, Dr. Kyle Brennan, Director of Academic Services. 2 to 3 business days. $9,000 for a master's degree that would be ready before the weekend. No classes, no coursework, no actual education, just a piece of paper and a lie. I forwarded the email to a dedicated folder I'd created. Then I opened a new browser window and started the next phase. The thing about diploma mills is that they can't exist in complete isolation. They need infrastructure, payment processing, web hosting, business registration, email servers. Each one of those touch points leaves a trail, and trails can be followed. Commonwealth University's website was hosted on a shared server through a budget hosting company called NetSpace Solutions. Their domain had been registered 8 months ago through a privacy service, but the registration renewal email would have to go somewhere real. I submitted a password reset request for the domain registrar account and watched where it went. The email bounced back to a Gmail account. QASadmin2024@gmail.com. Not Emily's personal email. Not Kyle's either, based on the address listed on his LinkedIn profile. A shared administrative account, probably accessed by both of them. I made a note. Next, I pulled up the LLC registration documents again. Commonwealth University of Advanced Studies, LLC, filed with the Massachusetts Secretary of State on March 15th. Emily Patterson and Kyle Brennan listed as co-owners, 50-50 split. Registered agent, Kyle Brennan. Business address, 247 Forest Street, Malden, MA. I'd driven past that address Tuesday night after everyone went to bed. A modest 2-family house in a working-class neighborhood. Vinyl siding, small front yard, detached garage and back. Lights on in the lower unit. A silver Honda Accord in the driveway. The same car that had been parked outside my house Tuesday afternoon while Kyle was upstairs with my wife. I pulled up the Malden property records. The house was owned by Patricia Brennan, age 67. Tax records showed it had been in her name since 1989. Kyle's mother, most likely. Which meant he was running a federal fraud operation out of his childhood home while his elderly mother lived upstairs. The irony would have been funny if it wasn't destroying my life. At 10:30 a.m., I took an early lunch and drove to a FedEx office 3 towns over. I'd prepared a package the night before, a flash drive containing screenshots of the Commonwealth University website, the LLC registration documents, the acceptance email for Robert Mitchell, and a detailed timeline of my payment to the fake university. I'd also included a written statement explaining that I was a concerned citizen who had discovered what appeared to be a diploma mill operation. The package was addressed to the Massachusetts Attorney General's Office, Consumer Protection Division. I paid cash for expedited delivery and walked out. That was step 1. Step 2 required more finesse. Back at my desk, I started compiling the list. Commonwealth University's website had a notable alumni section featuring testimonials from satisfied customers. 12 people, complete with names, photos, and their current job titles. I started with them. Jennifer Whitley, Ed in Educational Leadership, currently assistant principal at Riverside Middle School in Worcester. Her LinkedIn profile confirmed she'd added the doctorate to her credentials 8 months ago, right around the time Commonwealth University was registered as a business. Thomas Caldwell, PhD in organizational psychology, currently director of human resources at a medical device company in Framingham. His degree appeared on his LinkedIn 6 months ago. Patricia Nguyen, MBA, currently senior manager at a pharmaceutical company in Cambridge. 4 months ago, I went through all 12. Then I started searching for more. The website claimed over 300 satisfied graduates. I didn't have access to their customer database, but I had other tools. LinkedIn search function let me filter by school. I searched for Commonwealth University of Advanced Studies and found 47 profiles. 47 people who'd been foolish enough, or desperate enough, to list a fake degree on a public professional network. I started a spreadsheet. Name, current employer, position, degree claimed, date added to profile. Each entry was another person who'd paid thousands of dollars for a worthless piece of paper. Each entry was another person who'd lied on their resume, misrepresented their qualifications, potentially taken a job from someone with legitimate credentials. Some people might feel sorry for them, might argue they were victims too, duped by a convincing scam. But I'd seen the website. I'd read the promises. Accelerated completion track. Life experience credit. No classroom time required. Anyone with half a brain could see what this was. These people knew exactly what they were buying. They just didn't care. By 2 p.m., I had 47 names. By 4 p.m., I'd cross-reference them with news articles, company websites, and public records. 3 worked in healthcare administration. 5 were teachers or school administrators. 2 worked for government contractors requiring security clearances. 1 was a licensed social worker. Another was a hospital safety officer. People in positions of trust. People whose fake credentials could actually hurt someone. I saved the spreadsheet to an encrypted drive and locked my computer. My phone buzzed. A text from Emily. "Don't forget the milk. Also picking up Brandon from soccer at 5:30 if you want to come watch. Love you." I stared at the message for a long moment. The casual affection. The domestic coordination. The performance of normalcy from someone who was, at this very moment, probably planning her next meeting with Kyle. Maybe in our bed again. Maybe in his basement office surrounded by fake diplomas and forged transcripts. I typed back, "Can't make soccer today. Meeting running late. I'll grab the milk. Love you too." The lies came easier now. Maybe I was learning from the best. At 5:45 p.m., I left the office and drove to a different FedEx location. This package was larger. It contained a printed copy of my spreadsheet with all 47 names, along with a cover letter explaining the situation. I made 5 copies. 1 went to the Department of Education's Office of Inspector General. 1 went to the Massachusetts Board of Higher Education. 1 went to the Federal Trade Commission. 1 went to the FBI's Boston Field Office, White Collar Crime Division. The last one went to a reporter at the Boston Globe who'd written a series of articles about credential fraud the previous year. I paid cash for all 5. Expedited delivery. They'd arrive by Friday morning. Then I drove to the grocery store, bought milk, and headed home to have dinner with my family. The waiting was its own special kind of torture. 3 days passed, then 4, then a week. I went to work, came home, had dinner with my family, helped Brandon with his math homework, read Olivia her bedtime story, kissed Emily goodnight and felt her warmth beside me in bed while my stomach churned with acid. The thing about sending evidence to multiple government agencies is that they don't exactly rush to keep you informed. No confirmation emails. No phone calls saying, "We've received your package and agents are standing by." Just silence. The kind that makes you wonder if your carefully assembled evidence ended up in some bureaucrat's recycling bin. I checked the Commonwealth University website obsessively. Still up, still accepting applications, still promising accelerated degree programs for working professionals. The testimonials page still featured smiling stock photos of people who definitely never attended this basement operation. Emily seemed normal, maybe a little distracted, but nothing that would raise alarm bells for someone who wasn't looking for them. She mentioned her dissertation twice over dinner conversations. Said her advisor, I assume this meant Kyle, though she never specified, was pleased with her progress on Chapter 3. Only 2 more chapters to go, she said brightly, passing the green beans to Brandon. I might actually defend by spring. I nodded, smiled, told her I was proud of her dedication. The performance was exhausting. On day 9, I checked my Robert Mitchell email account and found a message from Commonwealth University. My heart rate spiked. Dear Mr. Mitchell, your MBA program materials are ready for download. Please log into your student portal to access your coursework modules. Remember, our accelerated format allows you to complete your degree in as little as 6 weeks with proper dedication. Best regards, Commonwealth University Academic Affairs. I clicked through to the portal. The coursework consisted of 8 PDF files with titles like Business Leadership Fundamentals and Strategic Management Principles. I opened one. 15 pages of generic business advice that read like it had been scraped from Wikipedia and run through a thesaurus. At the bottom of each module was a 5-question multiple-choice quiz. This was what people were paying $9,000 for. I took all 8 quizzes in under 20 minutes, deliberately getting a few questions wrong to seem plausible. 2 days later, another email arrived. Congratulations, Mr. Mitchell. You have successfully completed all required coursework for your MBA degree. Your diploma will be mailed within 3 to 5 business days. For an additional fee of $150, you may attend our graduation ceremony and receive your diploma in person. Please reply to this email if interested. I stared at that last line for a long time. The idea formed slowly, like ice crystals spreading across a window. Dangerous. Probably stupid. But the thought of actually seeing this operation firsthand, of watching Kyle hand out fake diplomas in whatever sad little ceremony they'd cobbled together, it had a certain appeal. I replied as Robert Mitchell, I'd be honored to attend graduation. Please send details. The response came within an hour. The ceremony would be held Saturday at 2 p.m. Address, 847 Walden Street, Apartment 1B, Malden. Dress code, business casual. Guests welcome. Walden Street. I pulled it up on Google Maps. A tired-looking triple-decker in a working-class neighborhood, about 20 minutes from our house. Street view showed peeling paint and a chain-link fence. This was the headquarters of Commonwealth University. I paid the $150 fee from my Robert Mitchell account. That night, Emily mentioned she had plans Saturday afternoon. Dissertation work? I asked, keeping my voice casual. Sort of. Meeting with my advisor to go over some research methodology issues. She was loading the dishwasher, her back to me. I'll probably be gone a few hours. No problem. I'll take the kids to the Science Museum. Brandon's been asking to see the planetarium show. She turned, smiled, came over and kissed my cheek. You're such a good dad. I wondered if she felt anything when she lied to me. Guilt, anxiety, or if it had become so routine that the words just flowed out effortlessly, smooth as water. Friday night, I told Emily I had a breakfast meeting with a client Saturday morning. Had to leave early, probably wouldn't be back until noon. On a Saturday? She frowned slightly. Big account. They're only available on weekends. I shrugged. The joys of client services. She accepted it without question. Why wouldn't she? I'd never given her reason to doubt me before. Saturday morning, I left the house at 8:30, drove to a Dunkin' Donuts, bought coffee I didn't drink, and sat in my car going over my plan. Robert Mitchell needed to be real enough to be convincing. I'd created a LinkedIn profile for him 2 weeks ago. Generic business headshot purchased from a stock photo site. Vague job history at companies large enough that no one would verify. But in person, I'd need more than that. I stopped at a Target and bought reading glasses with clear lenses. A Red Sox cap. Different enough from my usual appearance that a quick glance wouldn't immediately trigger recognition, but not so elaborate that I looked like I was in disguise. At 1:30, I parked 3 blocks from 847 Walden Street and walked. The neighborhood was quiet, residential. Kids playing basketball in a driveway. An elderly woman watering her garden. Normal people living normal lives, completely unaware that the building at the end of the block was ground zero for an academic fraud operation. The triple-decker was exactly as depressing as the street view suggested. Faded yellow siding, sagging front steps, a collection of mismatched mailboxes by the entrance. Apartment 1B was on the ground floor, accessed through a side door. I checked my watch. 1:47 p.m. Early, but not suspiciously so. The door was unlocked. I pushed it open and stepped into a narrow hallway that smelled like old carpet and air freshener. Apartment 1B was immediately to the left, door slightly ajar. I could hear voices inside. I knocked. "Come in." A male voice. Kyle's voice, though I'd never actually heard him speak. I pushed the door open. The apartment was small, cramped, and trying very hard to look official. Someone had hung a blue curtain across one wall with Commonwealth University printed on a banner in front of it. A folding table held a stack of diploma folders and what looked like a sheet cake from a grocery store. 4 folding chairs faced the makeshift stage area. Kyle stood near the table, wearing a suit that didn't quite fit right. He was shorter than I'd expected, maybe 5'8", with thinning brown hair and the kind of face that would disappear in a crowd. Unremarkable. The kind of person you'd forget 5 minutes after meeting. He wasn't alone. Emily stood beside him, wearing a dark blue dress I'd never seen before. Her hair was down, styled. She was holding a clipboard and laughing at something Kyle had just said. She looked happy. They both turned when I entered, and for one crystalline moment, I watched Emily's face cycle through confusion, recognition, and pure, undiluted terror. "David." Her voice came out as barely a whisper. Kyle's expression shifted from welcoming to wary. "I'm sorry. Do you two know each other?" I took off the reading glasses, removed the cap, smiled. "Hi, honey. Surprise." The silence in Kyle's apartment stretched for 3, maybe 4 seconds. It felt longer. Emily's face had gone through a fascinating progression. Confusion, recognition, horror, all in the span of a heartbeat. Kyle just looked lost, his eyes darting between me and Emily like he was trying to solve a puzzle with missing pieces. "David?" Emily's voice came out strangled. She was still holding that ridiculous diploma with my fake name on it. "What are you—" "Robert Mitchell," I said, keeping my voice steady. "That's the name on the degree you just sold me for $8,900. MBA in Business Administration, conferred by Commonwealth University of Advanced Studies." I looked around the shabby apartment with its folding tables and laser printer. "Hell of a campus you've got here." Kyle found his voice first. "Listen, man, I think there's been some kind of misunderstanding," I finished for him. "No, I don't think so. I understand perfectly. You're running a diploma mill, selling fake degrees to people who don't want to do the actual work. And my wife," I turned to Emily, "isn't getting a PhD. She's your business partner, co-owner of the LLC, according to the Massachusetts Secretary of State's office." Emily's hand went to her mouth. The diploma fluttered to the floor. "How long have you known?" she whispered. 9 days. I pulled out my phone, opened the folder of screenshots and documents. 9 days since I came home early and found you two in our bed. 9 days of watching you lie to my face about dissertation chapters and advisor meetings. 9 days of you kissing our kids goodnight while committing federal fraud. The color had completely drained from her face. David, please, please what? Please don't tell anyone? Please pretend I didn't see what I saw. I laughed, and it sounded harsh even to my own ears. I've already told people, Emily, lots of people. The FBI, the Attorney General, Department of Education, the FTC, oh, and the Boston Globe. They were very interested in the story. Kyle's expression shifted from confusion to panic. You're bluffing. I pulled up the email confirmations on my phone, turned the screen toward them. Sent last Tuesday. Every single one of them got a complete evidence package. Names, dates, transaction records, email correspondence. All 47 people who bought degrees from you, including a nurse practitioner, 2 high school principals, and someone who works for the Department of Transportation. Oh God. Emily sank into one of the folding chairs. Oh God. Oh God. You can't do this, Kyle said, and there was an edge of desperation in his voice now. Do you have any idea how many lives you're going to destroy? 47, I said. Give or take. That's how many people bought fake credentials from you. And yeah, I know exactly what's going to happen to them. They're going to lose their jobs. Some of them might face charges. Their reputations will be ruined. I looked directly at Emily. Kind of like what you did to our marriage, to our family. This isn't about revenge, Emily said, her voice shaking. David, think about Brandon and Olivia. Think about what this will do to them. I have thought about them. Every single day for the past 9 days. I've thought about how their mother is a criminal. How she's been lying to them, using them as cover while she commits fraud. How she's been sleeping with another man in their home. My voice cracked slightly on that last part, but I pushed through. You want to talk about what's going to hurt them? Let's talk about what happens when the FBI shows up at our door, when their friends' parents find out, when you go to prison. Prison? Emily's eyes went wide. David, no, please. We can fix this. We can pay everyone back, shut everything down. It's too late for that. You should have thought about consequences before you started this. Before you... I couldn't finish that sentence. The image of them together was still too fresh, too raw. Kyle had been quiet, but now he stepped forward. Look, Patterson, maybe we can work something out. We've got money. We could... Are you seriously trying to bribe me right now? I stared at him. In addition to everything else, you want to add witness tampering to your list of federal crimes? I'm just saying we could make this worth your while. Get away from me. The words came out cold and flat. Both of you. I'm done here. I turned toward the door, but Emily grabbed my arm. David, wait. Please. Just tell me why. Why did you wait? Why didn't you confront us that day? I looked down at her hand on my sleeve, then up at her face. The woman I'd loved for 13 years. The woman I'd built a life with. The woman who destroyed it all for what? Money? Excitement? Him? Because I needed to know the truth, I said. All of it. If I'd confronted you that day, you would have lied. You would have said it was just the affair, that you'd made a mistake, that it meant nothing. You would have cried and apologized and begged for another chance. I pulled my arm free. And part of me might have believed you. Might have wanted to believe you badly enough to ignore what I'd seen. I would have told you the truth. No, you wouldn't have. You've been lying to me for months, maybe longer. Every time you talked about your dissertation, your advisor, your research, all lies. Every time you kissed me goodbye and said you loved me. Lies. I shook my head. I needed evidence, documentation, something concrete that you couldn't talk your way out of or explain away. So you bought a fake degree. Kyle's voice was bitter. Entrapped us. I purchased a fraudulent academic credential from a business that advertises itself as a legitimate university, I corrected. That's not entrapment. That's just good old-fashioned evidence gathering, the kind that holds up in court. Emily was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. What happens now? Now? Now I'm going home to our children. I'm going to pack some of your things. And then you're going to need to find somewhere else to stay, because you're not sleeping in our house tonight. I pulled the divorce papers from my jacket pocket. I'd been carrying them all day, waiting for this moment. These will be served officially on Monday, but I wanted you to have advance notice. Full custody of Brandon and Olivia, the house, reasonable division of assets, minus whatever you've hidden in your little business venture here. She took the papers with shaking hands, but didn't look at them. You can't take my children away from me. I'm not taking them away. You gave them up when you decided fraud and adultery were more important than being their mother. I headed for the door again. My lawyer will be in touch. Don't contact me except through him. And don't come to the house. If you do, I'll call the police. David! Emily's voice broke on my name. Please, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I never meant for any of this to happen. I stopped with my hand on the doorknob. For a second, just a second, I almost turned around. Almost let myself feel something other than cold fury. But then I remembered Tuesday afternoon. The sounds from our bedroom. The way she'd smiled at me over breakfast that morning, knowing what she was planning to do that day. Yeah, I said without turning around. I'm sorry too. I walked out, leaving them in that basement apartment with their fake diplomas and their crumbling empire. The November air hit my face as I stepped outside, cold and sharp. My hands were shaking as I unlocked the car. Adrenaline, probably. Or maybe just the reality of what I'd done finally catching up with me. My phone buzzed as I started the engine. A text from my lawyer, Jeremy Walsh. How did it go? I typed back. It's done. She knows everything. 3 dots appeared, then, come by the office Monday morning. We need to talk next steps. Next steps. Right. Because this wasn't over. This was just the beginning. I drove home through the Saturday afternoon traffic, my mind already racing ahead to what came next. The authorities would investigate. There would be interviews, depositions, maybe a trial. Emily would hire her own lawyer. There would be custody hearings, property division, all the machinery of a marriage coming apart. And through it all, I'd have to explain to Brandon and Olivia why Mommy wasn't living with us anymore. The house was quiet when I got there. Mrs. Novak from next door had the kids for the afternoon. I'd arranged it yesterday, telling her Emily and I needed to handle some business. She'd given me a knowing look but hadn't asked questions. I stood in the doorway of our bedroom, my bedroom now, I supposed, and looked at Emily's things. Her clothes in the closet, her books on the nightstand. The framed photo of us from our wedding day, both of us so young and stupid and sure we'd beat the odds. I picked up the photo, studied our smiling faces. Then I put it face down in the drawer and started packing her suitcase. It was time to move forward. The drive home from Malden should have felt triumphant. It didn't. My hands shook on the steering wheel, adrenaline finally catching up with 9 days of controlled deception. I'd maintained my composure in that basement, calm, methodical, even cold. But now, alone in my car on Route 93, the reality of what I'd set in motion began to crystallize. I'd just handed my wife divorce papers at a fake graduation ceremony. I'd revealed to her and her lover that federal authorities were already investigating their operation. I'd documented everything, sent evidence to multiple agencies, and identified 47 people whose lives were about to implode. The thing about revenge is that it doesn't feel clean in the moment. It feels messy and complicated, like you've just pushed the first domino in a chain you can't stop even if you wanted to. I pulled into our driveway at 6:47 p.m. The house looked exactly as I'd left it that morning. White siding, neat lawn, Brandon's bicycle lying on its side near the garage. Normal, except nothing would be normal again. My phone had been silent during the drive. Now, as I sat in the car, it buzzed. Emily. I stared at her name on the screen, watched it ring 4 times, then go to voicemail. 10 seconds later, another call. I declined it. A text message appeared. David, please, we need to talk. Then another. This isn't what you think. And another. Please don't do this to our family. I turned off my phone. Inside, the house was quiet. My mother had picked up Brandon and Olivia from school as planned, taking them to her place for dinner and a sleepover. Just need a night to handle some paperwork, I'd told her. She'd agreed without questions, probably sensing something in my voice, but too tactful to pry. I poured myself 2 fingers of bourbon, Maker's Mark, the bottle Emily had given me for my last birthday, and sat at the kitchen table with my laptop. The divorce papers were filed. The evidence was submitted. Now came the waiting. But I'm not good at waiting. Never have been. I opened my email. Nothing from the FBI yet. Too soon, probably. The Department of Education had sent an automated acknowledgement of receipt. The Attorney General's office, same thing. The FTC, nothing. But the Boston Globe reporter Jessica Nguyen had responded, Mr. Patterson, thank you for bringing this to our attention. I'd like to discuss this further. Are you available for a call tomorrow? I stared at that message for a long time. Talking to a reporter meant going public. It meant Brandon and Olivia would eventually read about this in the news. It meant neighbors, co-workers, everyone would know. But 47 people had bought fake degrees. Some of them were teaching children. Some were treating patients. Some had government contracts requiring legitimate credentials. The public had a right to know. I typed back, available after 6 p.m. tomorrow. Here's my number. My phone, still off, sat on the table like a live grenade. I knew what would be waiting when I turned it back on. Emily's calls and texts. Maybe Kyle's too. Possibly her parents. God, I hadn't even thought about Dick and Susan. They'd been at our wedding. Dick had given me a cigar when Brandon was born. Susan brought casseroles every time Emily was sick. How do you tell your in-laws their daughter is a federal criminal? I didn't turn the phone on. Instead, I went upstairs to our bedroom. My bedroom now, I supposed. The bed was made. Emily had always been meticulous about that, even on the day I'd found her in it with Kyle. I wondered if she'd made it after I left that Tuesday, smoothing the sheets where they'd been, erasing the evidence. Her closet was still full of clothes. Her nightstand still held her reading glasses, a half-finished novel, a tube of hand cream. The bathroom counter was cluttered with her makeup, her hair products, her electric toothbrush and its charger. She'd been living 2 lives, and all the evidence of her legitimate one was still here, undisturbed. I grabbed a suitcase from the top shelf of the closet and started packing her things. Not everything, just enough for a week or 2. Clothes, toiletries, the essentials. I worked methodically, folding each item, organizing them in the suitcase the way she would have. I don't know why that mattered. Maybe some part of me was still trying to maintain order in the chaos. By 8:30 p.m., I had 2 suitcases packed. I carried them downstairs and set them by the front door. Then I changed the locks. I'd bought new deadbolts 3 days ago, kept them in the garage, prepared for this moment. It took me 40 minutes to install them on the front and back doors. The physical work felt good. Something concrete, something I could control. At 9:15 p.m., I finally turned my phone back on. 37 missed calls, 62 text messages, 3 voicemails. Most were from Emily. A few from numbers I didn't recognize, probably Kyle. 1 from my mother. Kids are great. Brandon beat me at checkers. Call when you can. I listened to Emily's voicemails. The first one, her voice was shaking. David, please, you don't understand. We need to talk about this. I can explain everything. Please call me back. The second one, anger creeping in. You can't just do this. You can't just destroy everything without even talking to me. 12 years, David? 12 years and you won't even answer your phone? The third one, desperation. The locks are changed. I can't get in the house. Where am I supposed to go? Please, David. Please. I deleted all three. Then I composed a single text message. Your belongings are by the front door. You have until noon tomorrow to arrange pickup. After that, they go to storage, and you can coordinate with my attorney. I included Jeffrey Paulson's contact information, the divorce attorney I'd retained 4 days ago, a sharp-eyed man in his 50s who'd listened to my situation without judgment and outlined a strategy that was both aggressive and legally sound. Send. 3 minutes later, my phone rang. Emily. I let it go to voicemail. Another text. David, please, I'm begging you. Let me come home. Let me explain. I turned off the phone again. The house felt enormous and empty. I walked through the rooms looking at the life we'd built. Brandon's artwork on the refrigerator. Olivia's toys in the living room basket. Wedding photos on the mantle. Emily in white, me in a tux. Both of us young and smiling and convinced we'd beat the odds. There's a specific kind of grief that comes with choosing to destroy your own life. Because that's what this was. Yes, Emily had betrayed me. Yes, she'd committed crimes. But I was the one who decided to burn it all down instead of confronting her privately, instead of giving her a chance to explain or stop or beg for forgiveness. Some people might judge that choice. They might say, I should have talked to her first, should have tried counseling, should have thought about the kids. But those people didn't find their wife in bed with another man. Those people didn't discover their spouse was running a criminal enterprise. Those people didn't spend 9 days pretending everything was fine while gathering evidence of fraud. I poured another bourbon and sat in the living room with all the lights off. Outside, a car drove slowly past the house, then continued down the street. Not Emily. She drove an SUV, and that had been a sedan. My laptop chimed with a new email. I opened it, expecting another automated response. It was from the FBI field office in Boston. Mr. Patterson, we've received your submission and assigned it to Special Agent Linda Kowalski. She will contact you within 24 to 48 hours to discuss your allegations and the evidence provided. Please do not discuss this matter with anyone else at this time. Thank you for your cooperation. So it was real now. Federal agents would be investigating. Emily and Kyle would be questioned. The 47-degree recipients would be identified and contacted. I thought about some of those names on the list. Amanda Foster, elementary school teacher in Newton. She'd bought a master's degree in education for $7,500. How many parents had trusted her with their children, never knowing her credentials were fraudulent? The FBI investigation took 4 months. Special Agent Linda Kowalski was thorough, methodical, and entirely unsympathetic to Emily's tearful explanations. The evidence I'd provided gave them everything they needed: transaction records, email correspondence, the fake diploma I'd purchased as Robert Mitchell, and a complete list of everyone who'd bought credentials from Commonwealth University of Advanced Studies. By March, federal charges were filed. Emily and Kyle each faced 12 counts of wire fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud, and operating an unaccredited institution. The U.S. Attorney's Office estimated they'd sold over 200 degrees in 18 months, generating approximately $1.6 million in revenue. Most of that money had been funneled through offshore accounts Kyle had set up, though Emily had received roughly $340,000 in direct payments. She'd hidden it well. A separate bank account I'd never known about. Investments in her name only. While I'd been paying our mortgage and supporting our family, she'd been building her own financial escape route. The divorce was finalized in May. I got full custody of Brandon and Olivia, the house, and most of our legitimate assets. Emily's legal fees consumed much of her hidden money. Her parents mortgaged their retirement home to help pay for her defense attorney, a slick lawyer from downtown Boston who tried to paint her as Kyle's victim, manipulated by a charismatic con artist. The jury didn't buy it. The LLC registration showing her as co-owner was too damning. So were the emails where she'd actively recruited students and discussed pricing strategies with Kyle. In July, Emily accepted a plea deal: 5 years in federal prison, followed by 3 years supervised release. Full restitution to all identified victims, an amount that would take her decades to repay. Kyle got 8 years. He'd run similar operations before, the FBI discovered. Commonwealth University was just his latest venture. The sentencing hearing was the last time I saw Emily in person. She'd lost weight. Her blonde hair had grown out, showing gray roots she would have colored immediately in her old life. She looked at me across the courtroom with hollow eyes, and I felt nothing. Not satisfaction. Not grief. Just a vast empty space where 13 years of marriage used to be. Her attorney made a final plea for leniency, citing her children, her previously clean record, her remorse. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s, was unmoved. "You didn't just defraud people financially," Judge Patricia Brown said. "You undermined the integrity of educational credentials that others work years to earn legitimately. You put unqualified people in positions of trust, teaching children, treating patients, managing critical infrastructure. The harm you've caused extends far beyond the money." Emily wept. I watched her shoulders shake, watched her mother sob in the gallery, watched her father stare straight ahead with the blank expression of someone whose world had collapsed. I felt nothing. The 47-degree recipients I'd identified faced their own consequences. Amanda Foster, the elementary school teacher, lost her job and her teaching license. Thomas Caldwell was fired from the medical device company and faced separate charges for lying on federal contractor applications. 3 others were criminally prosecuted. The rest lost jobs, professional licenses, reputations. Some people said I'd been too harsh, that I should have confronted Emily privately, given her a chance to make things right before involving authorities. My own mother said it once, carefully, over coffee while the kids played in her backyard. "I understand you were hurt, David. But did it have to go this far?" I'd looked at her, this woman who'd raised me to believe in honesty, integrity, doing the right thing even when it's hard, and said simply, "Yes, it did." Because here's what I learned. Betrayal isn't just about the act itself. It's about every lie that surrounds it, every moment of deception, every time someone looks you in the eye and makes you complicit in your own destruction by believing them. Emily didn't just cheat on me. She didn't just commit fraud. She turned our entire marriage into a performance, our family into her cover story, our children into props in her elaborate deception. Every morning she made breakfast. Every night she kissed me goodbye. Every parent-teacher conference and soccer game and family dinner, all of it was theater, and I was the only one who didn't know I was playing a role. That's not something you fix with counseling and apologies. Brandon is 13 now. Olivia is 10. They know their mother is in prison, though we've shielded them from the worst details. They visit her once a month at the federal facility in Connecticut. Supervised visits where Emily tries to explain herself in age-appropriate terms and mostly just ends up crying. Brandon has started asking harder questions lately. Last week, over dinner, "Dad, did Mom ever actually love us? Or was that fake too?" I put down my fork and looked at my son, almost as tall as me now, with his mother's blue eyes and my stubborn jaw. "She loved you," I said. "She made terrible choices, choices that hurt a lot of people. But I don't think her love for you and Olivia was ever fake. But she lied about everything else." "Yes, she did." "How do you know when someone's telling the truth?" Olivia asked quietly. "If people can lie that much, how do you ever trust anyone?" It's the question I've asked myself 1,000 times. The question that keeps me up at night, that makes me second-guess every relationship, every friendship, every casual interaction. How do you trust again after someone proves that trust itself is a fool's game? I don't have a good answer. What I told my daughter was, you trust carefully. You watch what people do, not just what they say. And you remember that most people are honest most of the time. Mom was the exception, not the rule. I don't know if she believed me. I'm not sure I believe it myself. The reporter from the Boston Globe, Jessica Nguyen, wrote a series of articles about the case. The diploma mill next door, how a Massachusetts mom built a fake university, ran on the front page and won some kind of journalism award. It detailed the whole operation, the fake faculty, the worthless coursework, the people whose lives were destroyed when their credentials were exposed as fraudulent. The article quoted me anonymously, a concerned citizen who first alerted authorities to the scheme. I never gave an interview, never went public with my identity. This wasn't about attention or vindication. It was about stopping something wrong. Though sometimes, late at night, I wonder if that's really true. If I'm being honest with myself, and I've learned the value of honesty, even when it's ugly, part of me wanted Emily to suffer. Wanted her to experience the same devastation I felt that Tuesday afternoon when my world imploded. Wanted her to understand that actions have consequences, that you can't just destroy people and walk away unscathed. Maybe that makes me vindictive. Maybe it makes me cruel. Or maybe it just makes me human. I haven't dated since the divorce, haven't even considered it. The idea of trusting someone enough to let them into my life, into my children's lives, feels impossible right now. Maybe someday. Maybe when the kids are older, when enough time has passed, when the scar tissue has fully formed over this wound. But not yet. What I have instead is routine, structure, Brandon's basketball games and Olivia's piano recitals, work projects and parent-teacher conferences and Sunday dinners with my mother. Small, manageable pieces of a life that make sense, that follow predictable patterns, where people generally do what they say they're going to do. It's not the life I planned, not the family I thought I was building when I proposed to Emily on that beach in Cape Cod. Both of us sunburned and happy and convinced we'd found something permanent in an impermanent world. But it's honest. And after everything, that matters more than I ever understood. Last month, Emily called from prison. It was Olivia's 10th birthday, and she wanted to wish her a happy birthday to hear her voice. I let Olivia take the call in the other room, listen to her careful, guarded responses. Thanks, Mom. Yeah, my party was fun. Dad got me a new bike. When she hung up, Olivia came back to the living room and curled up next to me on the couch. Mom says she's sorry, she said quietly. She says it a lot. I know, sweetheart. Do you think she means it? I thought about that. About Emily in that courtroom, tears streaming down her face. About her letters to the kids, full of regret and explanations and promises to be better when she gets out. About whether any of it matters when the damage is already done. I think she's sorry she got caught, I said finally. I think she's sorry about the consequences. Whether she's actually sorry for what she did, for lying to us, for breaking our family, I honestly don't know. Olivia was quiet for a moment. Then, I'm glad you told the truth, Dad. Even though it made things hard. I pulled her closer, felt her small body against mine, and realized that maybe that was enough. Maybe I couldn't give my children the intact family they deserved, the mother who made good choices, the happily ever after I'd promised them when they were born. But I could give them this: a father who told the truth, who did the right thing even when it was agonizing, who showed them that integrity matters more than comfort, that some lines can't be uncrossed, that actions have consequences even when those consequences hurt everyone involved. The road ahead is long. Emily gets out in 3 years with good behavior. We'll have to navigate co-parenting with a convicted felon, figure out how to help our children maintain some kind of relationship with their mother while protecting them from her poor judgment. There will be therapy bills and difficult conversations and moments when I question every decision I made. But here's what I know now. What I've learned at a cost I never wanted to pay. Trust isn't just given. It's earned through 1,000 small consistencies, through words matching actions, through choosing honesty even when lies would be easier. Emily failed that test. She chose convenience over integrity, excitement over loyalty, money over family. And when the foundation of trust crumbled, everything built on it came down too. Some people might read this story and think I overreacted, that I should have given her a chance to explain, to make amends, to rebuild what she'd broken, that I let my hurt and anger guide me instead of compassion and forgiveness. They're entitled to that opinion, but they're wrong. Because this was never about revenge or punishment or making Emily suffer. It was about drawing a line, about saying that some betrayals are too fundamental, some lies too corrosive, some damage too complete to simply forgive and move forward from. It was about teaching my children, and maybe myself, that integrity isn't negotiable, that the truth matters even when it destroys everything, that you can't build a life on deception and expect it to stand. Emily made her choices. I made mine. And now, we all live with the consequences. That's the price of betrayal. Not just the affair or the fraud or the prison sentence, but the permanent knowledge that the person you trusted most in the world looked you in the eye every single day and lied without hesitation or remorse. You don't come back from that. You don't rebuild that trust. You don't get that innocence back. You just move forward, one day at a time, and hope that eventually the weight gets lighter. I'm not there yet. Maybe I never will be. But I'm trying. For Brandon. For Olivia. For myself. And some days, that's enough.